floor to the Chief of the UNCCD Office to the United Nations, Mr. Nkuru. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues, I'm indeed honored to make a few remarks after my Executive Secretary has spoken on the occasion of the first World Soul Day and the launch of the International Year of Souls. 2 days ago, BBC News published an article whose title is relevant to today's event. That is, I quote, "African Souls Crisis Threatens Food Security." The author was writing on a recent issued report by the Montpellier panel, which is a group of African and European experts from the fields of agriculture, trade, ecology, and global developments, chaired by Sir Gordon Conway of Imperial College London. Sir Conway has contributed to this event today through the following quotation. I quote, "We spend a lot of time talking about crops, and we spend a lot of time talking about livestock. We have big debates about all kinds of agriculture, yet we tend to ignore that it all depends on soil." He also meant on land. This event is therefore a timely one. Mr. Chairman, every decade we are losing 120 million hectares due to land degradation and desertification. More than half of all agricultural land is already degraded. With climate change, many regions will become drier, suffering more frequent and prolonged droughts. Climate-induced water stress and land degradation could lead to the loss of 2/3 of all arable land by 2025, plunging millions of smallholder farmers into poverty and contributing to forced migration and conflicts. It is therefore no coincidence that the geography of land degradation and desertification coincides with that of abject poverty, chronic malnutrition, and hunger. It's also political instability and conflict in developing countries. The outcome of Rio +20 was a milestone for the attention it devoted to DLDD issues, DLDD standing for desertification, land degradation, and drought. In the future we want, world leaders acknowledged that DLDD were challenges of global dimension that posed serious challenges for sustainable development of all countries, in particular developing countries. They also urged to strive to achieve a land degradation neutral world. This was further reinforced by the discussion we had in OWG on SDGs, which recommended a call on addressing DLDD issues and a target on land degradation neutrality. Land degradation neutrality simply means two actions. First, to manage sustainably our arable land. Second, to reclaim those millions of hectares of degraded lands to bring them to the productive status again. Going land degradation neutral, of course, as one of the targets, will unleash the formidable capacity of land and its soils to address several global policy challenges that the world is facing today, especially food insecurity, poverty eradication, climate change adaptation, mitigation, and resilience. Land degradation neutrality will also be crucial if we are to feed over 9 billion people we expect by 2050. If we do not go this way, we will not combat poverty, we will not protect biodiversity, we will not adapt to climate change, we will not stop deforestation, to name but a few global challenges we are facing. We therefore look forward to working closely with partners, including through events such as this one, to generate awareness on the crucial need to nurture land and its soils. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank Mr. Bukuru for his important remarks and welcome his determination to work together in promoting this important issue. I now have the honor and pleasure to invite Mr. Robert Bonney, the Undersecretary of the United States Department of Agriculture, to deliver his remarks. Undersecretary.
Thank you. On behalf of the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service, I'm honored to be with you here today. I want to thank the UN Secretary General, Her Royal Highness, the governments of Thailand and Qatar, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations for their leadership on the issue of soil conservation and for the establishment of the International Year of Soils and today's celebration of World Soils Day. I also want to thank our partners at the Soil Science Society of America. The Natural Resources Conservation Service has worked closely with the Soil Science Society to develop plans to celebrate the International Year of Soils and to bring greater awareness to the importance of soil conservation in America. Our work in bringing attention to this issue is timely. As a global community, we're facing serious challenges in agriculture and food security. The global population today is greater than 7 billion people, and by mid-century is expected to surpass 9 billion. In the next 40 years, farmers will need to produce as much food as they have in the last 500 years to feed the growing population. Yet our agricultural land base is shrinking. In the United States, over the past 30 years, we've lost 43 million acres of agricultural land in development. Of that, 14 million acres have occurred on prime agricultural soils. Elsewhere, agricultural lands are being lost to desertification and other threats. Our task is made more difficult in the United States and across the globe by climate change. According to the most recent U.S. National Climate Assessment, climate disruptions to agriculture in the United States have increased over the last 40 years. While agriculture has been resilient to many of these changes, by mid-century, scientists believe that these impacts will be increasingly negative. A similar story can be told in other countries. How we manage our soils will be a vital part of our response to climate change. The good news is that farmers have long shown great resilience to a variety of threats. Indeed, soil conservation in the United States gained traction in the wake of the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, which was triggered by unsustainable farming practices and drought. The Dust Bowl affected tens of millions of acres and forced thousands of families to abandon their lands. President Franklin Roosevelt said at the time that a nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. In 1935, his administration established the Soil Conservation Service, which would later become the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Since that time, we've learned about the critical role that soil conservation and improved soil health plays in the economic and environmental sustainability of agriculture. Healthy soils are a critical piece of mitigating impacts from weather extremes. Healthy soils have a greater water and nutrient holding capacity. In drought, this helps ensure food, fuel, and fiber production continues. In heavy rainfall, healthy soils help keep water and nutrients in the soil where they should be and avert flooding in communities downstream. Soil and nutrients that stay on the land don't end up in our streams, rivers, and estuaries. Today, NRCS is working with farmers across the country to improve soil health. Healthy soil management focuses on 4 basic elements: minimizing soil disturbance, keeping soil covered, planting diverse crops, and maximizing living roots in the soil. As a result, NRCS is working with farmers to install cover crops, to encourage conservation tillage and no-till, and to promote crop rotation. Healthy soils are also vital to both mitigating and adapting to climate change. Well-managed soils sequester carbon from the atmosphere and ensure agricultural lands are more resilient to a variety of potential climate-induced threats, including drought and flooding. In September, at the Climate Summit here at the UN, Secretary Vilsack and USDA were pleased to join the FAO, the Netherlands, African nations, Vietnam, and many others in establishing a new global alliance for climate-smart agriculture. As part of the global alliance, countries, farmers, development agencies, researchers, businesses, conservation groups, and others will promote a triple win for agriculture: improved productivity, greater resilience to climate change, and lower greenhouse gases. While there will be many elements to achieving this triple win, promoting healthy soils will play a critical role. Confronting climate change, food security, and the sustainability of agriculture requires a renewed commitment to soil conservation and soil health. As our founding father Thomas Jefferson said, civilization itself rests upon the soil. USDA and NRCS are excited to join the global community in celebrating the International Year of Soils. We look forward to working with all the partners here to bring attention to the critical ecosystem that lies just beneath our feet. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank Undersecretary Bonnie for highlighting and reminding us of the challenges we will be facing on the important issues of soil conservation and on food production. Thank you very much. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, the floor is now open to those who wish to make interventions and to exchange views. Kindly indicate by pressing the speak button in the panel in front of you. That will show us your interest in intervening. I already have 3 speakers on my list of speakers. From the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, from the International Union of Soil Sciences, and from the Soil Science Society of America. I now give the floor to Mr. Andre Liu, International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, or IFOAM. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and friends. Firstly, I'd like to thank the permanent missions of Thailand and Qatar, and also FAO for inviting me to speak. And I'd particularly like to congratulate the Kingdom of Thailand and His Royal Highness for initiating the World Soils Day and 2015 International Year of Soils. I fund We Are Organics International with the global umbrella body for the organic sector. We have about 800 member organisations in 125 countries, and we represent many millions of farmers. And we're actually very pleased to see that the theme is healthy soils for healthy life. It's been one of the things that we as a movement have been promoting for many, many decades, and it's just wonderful to see that see it happening today, and that next year it will be the year of healthy soils. One of the key criteria for defining healthy soils is soil organic matter. And it's been something that has been largely ignored, and it's only recently that we're seeing it as part of agronomy. And for us, it's always been a substantial part of what we do. And I'd like to just point out some of the key benefits, because we've heard many of the speakers today talk about the benefits. So I'd like to give it, for instance, if you want to talk about water holding ability, for each 1% of soil organic matter, the soil can hold about 160,000 litres of water in the root zone. Now, if you can get that up to around 6%, which is what many soils were before agriculture, you're storing around a megalitre of water per hectare at the root zone. And if you want to think about the agriculture, really 98% is rainfed. We do not have the resources to irrigate it all. And if we did, it's actually one of the biggest environmental disasters, because we'd have to dam every water course, drain every aquifer. So building up soil organic matter to increase water use efficiency is one of the most important things that we can do in terms of improving the efficiency of agriculture. Another one which I think is very important that has been mentioned is soil carbon sequestration. We have very good data now showing that with the right techniques, it is possible to mitigate around 2 tonnes of CO2 per hectare per year. And if we extrapolate that to the FAO numbers for the amount of agricultural land in the world, that's around 10 gigatons. And where that is a very important number, last year UNEP published the emissions gap, which is the amount of sequestration the countries have committed to, less what is actually going into the atmosphere, and that's between, depending on how you calculate it, between 8 to 12 gigatons. Now, if we can start getting in practices where we can increase organic matter, we can turn agriculture from being an emitter or a problem into a major solution. And I think this is one of the areas where our organisation would be really pleased to partner and assist, because that's where we do have experience. And once again, I just want to really congratulate you. I think this is one of the most important things that has been done in the history of farming. So thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Andrew Liu, representing an organization that represents millions of farmers, as you said, those closest to the soil, and for giving us important information on how soil and the ground can hold both water and carbon. Thank you. Next on my list is Mr. Ratan Lau, International Union of Soil Sciences, or IUSS, and then to be followed by the DBR license for mixture of NGOs and civil society and states. Mr. Lau, you have the floor.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as President-elect of the International Union of Soil Science, I have the privilege and honor to convey the best greetings of more than 60,000 soil scientists from around the world to you on the occasion of the World Soil Day celebration by the UN and FAO. The World Soil Day was initiated by the Council of International Union of Soil Science in August 2002 during the 17th World Congress of Soil Science, which was opened by Her Royal Highness the Princess seated here in Bangkok, Thailand. The decision was taken by the Council of the IUSS to select 5th of December, which is the birthday of His Majesty the King of Thailand. His name, Bhumi Go, means the victory for the land. Bhumi, the Pali Sanskrit word, means Prithvi, Dhara, the land. Very appropriate. Therefore, the International Day of the Soil has been celebrated since 2002 in honor of His Majesty the King of Thailand. As has already been stated, it is the soil quality restoration through improvement in soil organic matter, through restoration of degraded soil, that sustainable system of management can increase food production by 70% required between 2005 and 2050. It can also transform agriculture from curse to cure of climate change by sequestering carbon in soil at the rate of about 1 gigaton of carbon per year throughout the world soil. It was in 1923 Sir Howard, then based in Indore, India, who stated in his writing, and I quote, "Health of soil, plant, animal and human is one and indivisible. And the real arsenal of democracy is a fertile soil, the fresh produce of which is the birthright of nations. Therefore, soil is, in a sense, essential for peace and integrity in the world. Therefore, without restoring the health of the soil, it is not possible to maintain and sustain the health of the people. Thus, the soil must be on any agenda to address global issues of the 21st century, including the climate change, including the food and nutritional security, including drought stress, including biodiversity, and of course the biofuel and the energy. I might say that if soils are not restored, and it has been repeatedly said that we have as much as 24 to 33% of soil degraded, if those degraded soils are not restored, crops will fail even if the rains do not. Hunger will perpetuate even with emphasis on biotechnologies and GMOs. Civil strife and political instability will plague the world even with sermons on human rights and democratic ideals, and humanity will suffer despite scientific strides. Therefore, restoration of soil is of fundamental importance. Political stability and global peace can only be achieved if the soil, the basis of human civilization, are restored. If the soils are threatened by soil degradation, the food insecurity and desperateness will spread the instability and political turmoil. Excellencies, I express my sincere wishes for a strong cooperation between International Union of Soil Science and United Nations and FAO. Together, we can unlock the scientific knowledge, strengthen the understanding of the soil as a finite and a non-renewable but essential resource, promote the sustainable use of soil and natural resources, enhance awareness about the importance of soil for the production of food, adaptation and mitigation of climate change, enhancing biodiversity, and providing the renewable freshwater supply. Soil is the basis of all terrestrial and aquatic life. It must be used, restored, and improved for human well-being and nature conservancy. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Ratan Lau, the President-elect, and I join in congratulating you. An organization that represents 60,000 soil scientists, and thank you for giving us, enlightening us about the real origin of World Soil Day, 2002, and you've gone the full circle with Her Royal Highness opening your session in Bangkok, and now at the World Soil Day. Well, it took us from 2002 to 2013 to establish the World Soil Day here in the UN. I don't think it is too late. And the most important message that I took from your important remarks is that as a scientist, you were telling us that the soil can be turned from cursed into cure. So thank you very much. I now have the pleasure to invite the Deputy Permanent Representative of Iceland, Mr. Nicholas Hannigan. You have the floor, sir, to be followed by the Soil Science Society of America.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, just to express our profound thanks to Thailand and to Qatar for hosting this event and thus maintaining the momentum gained in recent months on this extremely important issue, about which we've had many interesting interventions. Managing land degradation is a topic very close to Iceland's heart. Over the past 100 years, over the last 100 years after passing special legislation back in 1907, Iceland has succeeded in halting degradation, land degradation, in many areas, and even in reversing it and reversing desertification. And we've been happy to share our experience through the UN University program on land restoration, which we have hosted for a number of years. A growing number of countries are realizing how crucial sustainable land management is for sustainable development. And this is already reflected in the outcome of the future we want, in remarked on here a number of times, adopted in Rio. Since the establishment of the group of friends on DLDD here in New York over a year ago, the importance of this issue in the context of sustainable development has gained further ground, as reflected in the inclusion of a target on a land degradation neutral world in the outcome of the Open Working Group. And just yesterday, we saw that in the Secretary General's synthesis report, this also highlights this aspect of sustainable use of our planet. The second committee has now also adopted a resolution that recognizes possible socio-economic and security implications of land degradation, something already remarked upon so forcibly by the previous speaker, the President-elect of the Association of Soil Scientists.